Next, we'll have a session on gamification, taking education to next level. For this session, I would like to invite Miss Marie Sophie Pocha. Miss Marie Sophie Pocha completed her bachelor degree in business administration at the University of St. Gallen, Switzerland. In addition to pursuing a second major in economics, she also attended National Taiwan University in 2013 as a part of a business degree. Before joining Taiwanese startup BoniO, she worked with the Swiss software startup Dakuda, where she launched a highly successful crowdfunding campaign. Focusing her academic research on potential for collaborative education, Marie has become passionate about education innovation and the opportunities the digital age offers to share education across the globe. Would you please give her a big hand?
I myself am from Germany, but have been in Taiwan for quite some time. And yeah, my whole team and I were very excited to be here today. And I feel very honored to be able to speaking to you this morning. I'll be speaking to you about the topic of gamification and how it can help education and learning success of students, and how we so far have experienced how our game has changed the learning experience for students in Taiwan, but also around the world thus far. I think gamification itself has been a big buzzword in the education community, really, and I hope that I can show you better on how to really specifically use gamification to make sure that students are not having fun by learning, but that they actually, really do have a larger learning success, and that the teaching we do using games really does have a bigger impact than the dry teaching. Because I think often the worry we experience with teachers before implementing a game in their classroom is, will this game take the focus away from learning, or will it really impact the learning in a positive way? And I hope to be able to show you today how that is definitely possible. Okay. Yes, I think some of you may have been faced with this picture before, or this mood. I know that as a former student, I can empathize, definitely. And let's be honest, this probably happens across all ages. So no matter whether elementary school, middle school, or even university level, students do get bored in class or fall asleep or just don't feel motivated to attend in the first place. And that is a problem, I think, that just is something that even if you're a very great teacher and the content you bring across, the class you teach is very interesting, it starts a little earlier. It starts with the student's motivation. And if that is already, down the drain, then it's very hard to get students back to pay attention to what you're trying to teach them, even it may be really, really good. I remember when I was in college that happened, and I was very surprised because I thought, in college, everybody's there by choice as opposed to school before, and still students seem to not really want to really learn something or take in the class materials. So I think the main question that we have to ask ourselves is how do we motivate our students? What can I do, a step earlier to make sure that when I teach them, they really want to take in the material I have prepared for them. And that is something that, we've been wondering at BoniO for a while, and when we looked at today's teenagers mainly, but it starts earlier and earlier now, the answer is most likely that it's their peers. I think we see this with social media taking over such a big part in kids' lives these days, or young people's lives these days. The amount of likes is highly relevant for some reason to people. The recognition by other students for anything you do is, I think, the most powerful motivation for students to do things. And we started thinking about how can we use this somewhat peer pressure that is going on, that is usually, connotated in a pretty negative way, in a positive way. How can we use that to a benefit in learning, really? Instead of a benefit and, if he's sleeping, then I may as well not pay attention anymore, to, hey, he's studying hard, I want to do that too. So how can we do that? And that's why we came up with BoniO, our online gaming platform for the students. And we thought, which things do we have to really include in this game to make sure that it's fun to the students, that they're motivated, and that they have a high learning success? And the answer is peer recognition, competition, and smart rules. So those are the three characteristics that we wanted to bring to BoniO. Because of the peer pressure I mentioned before, and because we all know that on some degree a healthy level of competition is inherent in all of us, and smart rules in order to make sure that the game is not just used to play, but that learning remains at the very center of the game. So I will walk you through the game now. So this is the world of BoniO. I hope you can see well. And the highlighted areas, black flags, you can see at the bottom. That's my territory. But you can see on the left-hand side and then in the upper corners, there's other people's territories. It kind of, some of you, it may remind of Settlers of Catan or Risk, so those board games that I used to play when I was younger, and maybe many of you. I have my own territory, and my classmates are around me, and the goal of the game is basically, conquer the world, conquer new territories, expand my territory, and take over the planet, basically. So in this world of BoniO, I can expand my territory into the ocean and build my own country. I can, work on my own country and make it look nicer. I can build forests, plant flowers, things like that, depending on my preferences. And I can also start conquering other students' territories. So I can start attacking other students' territories and take over the world and take over their territories as well. So there's that degree of peer pressure and competition that makes sure that my classmates should, stay on their toes as well, to make sure that they don't lose their territories. They have to also play the game. And as I said, the center of the game has to be the learning success. If you click on a field here, you can see the red hexagon. This will pop up, and you can click the red button in that yellow field and attack that new field. And then when you click attack, a question will pop up. So this, for example, is elementary school English as a second language in Taiwan. And this question could be any question. Now it's, I want blank juice and a hamburger, please. So it's A, some, B, A, or C, an. Anybody? Yes. Okay. So it's answer A. And then if that is correct. All right. So that was correct indeed. And then if I've done this correctly, then I will take over the land. So this is the basic idea of the game, that in order to really be able to be playing, you have to be, doing your homework, doing classwork, or, fulfilling your assignments. So the learning process is really inherent in the game. You really have to learn in order to be able to play. So that's why we made sure that this is the central part of the game, and then there's loads of gaming features built around it. And I'll just show you a couple now, and I'll be happy to show you many more later. But I'll show you the ones that mainly apply to peer recognition, competition, and smart rules. So here we have the ranking option. Students can have their own personal profile, and then they can check out how they rank with questions answered. Originally, we launched this on Coursera, an open course platform, an online open course platform, about almost 2 years ago. And it was a course on probability by National Taiwan University professor Ye, who's also our co-founder. And we included this ranking function in there. In open online courses, the problem is often that students drop out very easily, because if it's an online course, and especially on Coursera, it's voluntary, so there's no requirements. And it's very hard to really, ask the students to participate, because there's no personal interaction between your professor and the students. So how do we make sure that they stay on it? Well, that's why we started using BoniO in the Coursera course, and we tried to see, are they more likely to complete the course, or are they likely to stick with it? And it actually turns out it was quite a great experience. They signed up, around 5,000, I think, signed up in the first round. And they played the game, and you could see, after a couple of weeks, some of them had solved like 200 to 300 questions. And it was just amazing to see, this is not any course requirements. It wasn't a course requirement to play the game or anything, but they stayed on it because it gets addicting, because they see how much everybody else is solving, and they just kind of like, oh, I want to, get the same benefit out of this. I want to learn the same way that this person is doing it, even though I don't even know them personally. I see this ranking, and it just motivates me, and it does give me some peer recognition if I, for example, show up in the top 10 on the right-hand side. So that's one of the features we introduced. The second one, basically applying to competition, is really the nature of the game. You conquer into the open territory, you conquer the ocean that hasn't been occupied yet, but at some point you will start having to conquer your classmates, and that does create a certain level of competition. If I solve the homework assignment and the other student doesn't, they may wake up the next day and come back and only have a couple pieces left. So it's a nice way to motivate them, and a healthy level of competition for them to keep going. And about smart rules, it's probably more difficult to explain. Some of them are really little tweaks that we develop over time. Some of them are features that just arise because we figure out that some students have cheated, and then we figure out, oh, how could we have prevented this in the first place? How could we make sure that they solve their own homework assignments and don't copy from students, and so forth. Yes?
Yeah, I have one question to ask. If we go for this particular game, how many players can play at a time?
So each player has their own territory, and they can be playing at the same time, all of them at the same time.
Trying to conquer?
Yes. So
and, can we have that format where, 3 players playing and, setting their own patterns and trying to conquer? So will it be a game like that? Or individually they are playing and then they're, comparing their scores?
Yes, so what was the other option that you would like to try out?
No, I just wanted to ask that is it on the individual basis the students are playing, right? And then comparing their scores? Or is it 3 players at a time playing on the same pattern and then, they're conquering over each other?
So that would be like teamwork, and together they have one territory and they expand this territory together.
Yes.
This is actually something we're including. We are launching a global math competition within the game, and there we have teams of 3 playing together. But what we have actually is just coming up now is, as a group, for group work, is the mission function, where 3 players will together conquer a mission. And then thereby be successful. That's probably more what you're looking for.
Yeah.
All right, I'll get to that in like
because that enhances the competitive spirit among students,
Yes.
If they're playing individually, it might turn out to be boring for them, and then comparing the scores.
Yes. Okay, so in order the idea between the competition is actually that those guys that I'm attacking there are my classmates. So we could all be playing at the same time and then kind of start battling each other through answering questions at the same time. So that's the nature of the game. But what we also allow is through the mission function to have group play. So we introduced this mission function to make sure that students don't give each other the answers to the questions. And with this mission function, the teacher can assign awards or rewards if they complete their homework. So there can be, some game reward that they receive if they complete their homework, but maybe only the first 20 will get the most valuable reward, and then the next 10 will get a less valuable reward, to make sure that the students don't collaborate with each other when they're supposed to be solving the questions alone. But what this mission function is also for is for several students to be solving one mission together. We know that especially, in general, we need to make sure that our students don't just stay competitive, but that they also know how to, work in a team to collaborate together. And that is something that we wanted to introduce with the mission function, so that each student in a group, maybe the teacher can group them into maybe 5 students per group or so, and then they will basically work together and only get the complete reward if each student does their part completely. So to make sure, that each student is really working the way they're supposed to. All right, I think I have to hurry a little. So just want to drop in this. Actually, there is a teaching console at the back end of PGAMO that offers a wide range of teacher functions. This is grouping the students, viewing the students' grades, seeing their statistics, their improvements, seeing where they have weaknesses. And this is something that we wanted to use for the best for the students, is to make sure that the teacher, they receive the statistics, and based on those statistics, they can assign individualized curricula to each student. So maybe the students that need to work on vocabulary get some vocabulary questions, and the ones that need to improve their, grammar skills will receive grammar questions to make sure that the teacher can really teach the students to what they need. Okay, and what we saw is when we launched it on Coursera is that students got very addicted. So as I mentioned, in a couple of weeks, 200 to 300 questions a time. Now we've launched in the K-12 market in Taiwan. We see that some students answer actually over 2,000 questions a month, which is, great to see, but kind of crazy. And here are the statistics. After the Coursera success, we were wondering, is it really the motivation that increases through PGAMO, and what does PGAMO do for the students? And the result is that the two highest, the 90% answers were that they enjoy playing the game and they want to understand what the teacher has taught them. So it's not about the course requirements, it is because PGAMO is fun for them and because it will help them actually understand the course material. And those are really the two things, gaming and learning, that we try to achieve. So we were really excited to see that, and seems to be working in the K-12 market as well. If we look here at these statistics, I think I'll just point out the most important one, and that's the third one that you can see. Over 95%, over 86% of the students said that they are able to finish more challenging tasks when they use PGAMO. And that's really something, great to see that in that gameplay environment, students are more likely to take a risk and try out, some tasks that they previously thought they were not capable of. So it's really nice to see that they weren't, they didn't think they would reach that level of competence, but through the gameplay they were able to finish more challenging tasks than they initially thought they were capable of. All right. So we saw that students' motivation to learn is increased through PGAMO, and that is true for all ages. We use this, PGAMO is now being used in the K-12 market, it's being used in the higher education market, but also in corporate training. Some of the largest companies in Taiwan use PGAMO, some Fortune 500 companies that we cannot mention also use PGAMO for corporate training. This is the largest insurance company in Taiwan, Cathay Life, that uses PGAMO, and they have to prep their insurance salespeople for a standardized test in order for them to get certified. Now the level of motivation is already very high with these people because they do this for a living, but we can see that when they used PGAMO, they did a focus group, and when the company used PGAMO for preparation for the test, the passing rate was at 96%, almost 10% higher than it was initially, which was already very high. And that's why we think that PGAMO is the best game for K-12, higher education, and corporate training. It's been tested and tested successfully in all of those markets. And you can really use it for the complete portfolio of things that you want to do in the classroom: gaming, learning, assessing students, as well as self-assessing for the students. They can do that as well for example, exam preparation. And for teaching, you can assess students, check them, grade them in there, but you can also, for example, now assign multimedia content, reading materials or videos in PGAMO, and then they will be rewarded for, completing something, so they can actually learn themselves in PGAMO and learn new contents and not just be questioned on existing content. So that's why I think I would like to close now. I think that nowadays we think that gaming for education is something that's nice to have, nice to experiment, nice to try out. But with the experience that we've had in the past months, I really believe it will be a must-have in the classroom. Our kids now grow up just constantly being entertained on mobile devices, playing with their apps. There's a constant stream of entertainment, and if education is not as entertaining, I wonder how it will keep up with those materials, and I think that we will need to implement this entertaining or gaming features into our education if we want our children to grow up to be the educated, young individuals we would like them to be. And that's, I'd like to close. Feel free to also sign up for free and try out our game. We also have a booth in the lobby, so I'd be very excited to talk more about BoniO in more detail with you at our booth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Marie. That was for such a wonderful session. We would like to felicitate Mrs. Marie on the behalf of EdTechReview and ELC partners. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Marie Sophie Pocha.
Thank you.
Now let's enjoy a cup of tea and coffee in the exhibition area where we have our partners showcasing how they could help your school by solving the different problems.